Alright, from the lovely clear Adelaide, just want to start this video with a shout out to Smoky Sydney, and despite of their air being 11 or 12 times above the hazardous level recommendation, they still went out there to show how pissed off they were. Good on you, Sydney. I hope there's enough face masks for everyone. Alright, and I'm making this video partially because I made a video a little while ago railing on the most recent fuck up by Angus Taylor, and because I was sick of talking about that dickhead, I ended up flipping it into a video about the automation of mines, coal mines here in Australia. And in essence, my argument was just show me an industry that ended up getting more machines and technology to do the jobs that needed to be done and didn't lay people off, didn't get rid of people. Isn't that how capitalism works? Isn't that the point of business profit, why half of this is done? So when politicians act surprised that 300 jobs are going from this one and this many jobs are going from that one, and they're exposed that they're just corporate sellouts and it's not about the jobs. It never was about the jobs. If it was about the jobs, you probably would have done your job better, because the only way it was about the jobs was duping people into election promises that were on their face empty promises because of the reality of how the mining business is heading, where they can control virtually a whole mine from a remote area. And so someone who's extracting these resources and selling these resources, they make the money, they get to donate to our politicians, and what do the people get? A fucked up environment, that's what they get. Oh, a reoccurring point we like to make here, and what do you mean? Because even if you have a job in a mine, the mine has a lifetime. It will end. Where I don't see the same reality for solar farms. Just saying. Alright, so yeah, I just wanted to make a video that I made that point in, which was a bit more obvious than it being under the cover of another rant about Angus Taylor. And to tie that and Smoky Sydney and this painting all together, very suitingly is this article I found today, titled "New Coal Mines in Queensland Don't Help Existing Communities, They Hurt Them." Richard Dennis. Instead of subsidizing new mines, imagine if we tried to protect existing coal communities and the environment at the same time. This week in Queensland, Anthony Albanese has been devastating in exposing the lies, hypocrisy and absurdity of the National Party's election promise to build a new coal-fired power station. That even the idea of building such a power station hasn't demolished the economic, environmental and political credibility of the Morrison government tells you a lot about what's wrong in Australian politics today. But how do we square the circle on the broader coal debate? Internationally, the debate between those who think it's time we talked about fossil fuel supply, think Adani, the Keystone XL pipeline or the Canadian oil sands, and those who want to keep the focus on fossil fuel demand, think talks of targets, trajectories and closing down coal power stations, has been brewing for some time. But there's no need to fight. Alfred Marshall was the economist who invented what we now think of as supply and demand curves. He was once asked whether it was supply or demand that determined a price. His response was, "That's like asking if it was the upper or lower blades of the scissors that did the cutting." There is nothing in an economist textbook that says we need to choose between focusing on the supply of fossil fuels or the demand of them. In fact, economist textbooks suggest that when it comes to a big problem like climate change, we should cut with both arms of the scissors. The good news is that if we are willing to take a new look at old arguments, we can develop win-win solutions to problems that can sometimes seem unresolvable. As Albanese has said, it's important to differentiate between thermal and coking coal. That's true, and when we do, we can see that none of the new mines such as Adani being proposed in the Galilee Basin produce coking coal. But if we go further down the road of arguing that not all coal mines are created equally, we can find even more common ground. If, for example, we distinguish between existing coal mines and proposed coal mines, we can develop policies that efficiently grandfather our treatment of the mines we already have while imposing much tougher rules on proposed new ones. The opposition leader is right to say it would be economically reckless to close down all existing coal mines overnight, but that doesn't mean that it's economically or environmentally responsible to open up new coal mines in regions that have never mined a ton of coal. Once we separate calls to stop opening new coal mines from calls to shut all coal mines down tomorrow, a range of economic and political possibilities present themselves. The most important of which is that by preventing any increase in the supply of coal from new coal mines, we can actually keep the price of coal higher, keep the existing mines operating for a bit longer, and in turn keep existing coal workers in existing coal regions working longer. Put simply, new coal mines in far north Queensland don't help existing coal communities, they hurt them. The Morrison government often tells us that if we frack more gas, the price will fall, and if we build more coal-fired power stations, electricity prices will fall. But they don't talk much about what will happen if Australia opens up the Galilee Basin and doubles our coal export. That's because the answer is that it would push the world's price for coal down and the world's consumption of cheaper coal up. Australia is the world's largest exporter of coal. When it comes to exportable coal, Australia has a bigger share of the trade coal market than Saudi Arabia has of the world oil market. Our supply decisions matter a lot. Back in 2011, Queensland suffered from catastrophic flooding, and the floods disrupted Queensland's coal export facilities. The world's price of coal shot up for the same reason the world price of oil shot up when terrorists attacked Saudi Arabia's largest oil refinery this year. Simply, decisions affect price. Flooding the world coal market with an extra 200 million tonnes of Galilee Basin coal will push the price of coal down, along with production and employment at other Australian coal mines. But don't take my word for it. Adandi's own evidence to the Queensland Land Court showed employment in other Australian mines would contract. The Port of Newcastle has argued publicly that the new coal mines in Queensland will lead to coal job losses in the Hunter. Even Joel Fitzgibbon was quoted saying that the economic warning about the impact of the proposed new mines in Queensland's Galilee Basin on the Hunter coal industry were absolutely correct. Again, once we distinguish between the economic impact of opening new mines from the economic impacts of shutting down existing ones, the political landscape looks quite different. Similarly, once we understand that supply and demand interact, the policy case for focusing on both fossil fuel supply and fossil fuel demand make a lot more sense. But rather than plan a gradual transition out of coal by allowing existing coal mines to wind down on schedule over the coming decades, the New South Wales, Queensland and federal governments are offering a wide range of subsidies to build new ones. Subsidising new coal mines is a poor way to fund our schools and hospitals, and it's an even worse way of helping existing coal communities. The Queensland's Treasury has said spending on mining-related infrastructure means less infrastructure spending in other areas, including social infrastructure such as hospitals and schools. It gets worse. The New South Wales government policy for setting coal royalties states royalty rates are set to encourage present and future exploration and development of mineral resources, and so keen to open new coal mines is the Queensland government that they have offered a royalty holiday for coal itself, which would amount to an enormously expensive dig now pay later scheme. Of course, that assumes that Adandi will be around in the future to pay later, but the consequence of interstate competition to attract new coal mines is that Australian taxpayers and the world's climate pays a high price. But with absurdity comes opportunity. Imagine if Australia had a national plan to manage the decline in coal, a decline that even the coal industry accepts will come in the decades to come. Imagine if instead of subsidizing new mines to come and compete with existing coal mines, we try to protect existing coal communities and the environment at the same time. If such a plan was based on economics, not spin, it would be simple and cheap. Step 1. Stop building new coal mines. You can't transition out of coal while you're still building new coal mines. Step 2. Admit the obvious. New coal mines would push down prices and threaten jobs in existing coal mines. Step 3. Keeping existing mines open for longer by preventing new ones from opening. That's the fairest way to help existing coal miners in existing mines and an easy way to help the climate. Step 4. Increase the very low coal royalties and raise a lot more revenue from existing mines. For context, Saudi Arabia has a tax rate on oil companies of 85% and no lack of foreign oil companies. Step 5. Fund regional development from the increase in revenue that will accompany higher royalties and company tax revenues. We We just need New South Wales, Queensland and the Commonwealth cooperating to help existing communities instead of competing to help foreign coal companies establish new ones. Step 6. Ban robot trucks and robot trains. What's the point of causing climate change from mines if they don't even employ anyone in regional areas? With faith in politics at record lows, temperature, pollution and bushfire damage at record highs, it's a brave politician who hopes that the issue of coal exports will fade away like the Sydney Opera House behind a new shroud of smoke. Sure, it's hard to imagine states cooperating with each other for the benefit of their citizens, but now more than ever Australia needs some blue sky thinking. Richard Dennis is the chief economist at the Australian Institute. What more needs to be said? What have I been saying? Look, the chief economist has just come out and said what I've been yelling about on my videos. I'm just some YouTuber. That guy's meant to know his shit. Let's say this is common sense. So let's say that when politicians go against common sense, it's probably got some sort of corruption involved. Anyways, yep, that's pretty much all that needs to be said on that. Thanks for watching, everyone. Like, subscribe for more political arts and crafts.